Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Riverview Medical Missionary Training. We are on our third day, right? We thank God for the privilege to be here. And before we do anything else, we want to invite the presence of our Lord with us. So let's kneel as we do that, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for the privilege to be here. We thank you because you are good to us, because you want us to be healthy, and because you want us to do the missionary work that is needed for this time. Lord, prepare us that we will be able to listen to your word, learn your ways, and also to know and cherish that your ways are better than man's ways. And this work, we want to do it with your power. It cannot be ours. Please baptize us with your Holy Spirit. And in a special way, we ask you, Lord, that you will continue supporting, strengthening, and healing Pastor Dwayne as he gets ready for tonight's message, which is very, very important. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. For the devotion or worship for this time, we are going to be looking at Healthful Living. So if you have your books in any form, you can go to it and we'll read, asking the Lord to guide us in this reading. Healthful Living, page 65, paragraph 5. Healthful Living, 65, paragraph 5. And we read, drugging, talking about using drugs, should be forever abandoned. For while it does not what? It does not what? It does not what? Alright. Let this thought be in your mind really, really well. And in any malady, it enfeebles the system, making it more susceptible to disease. Is this what people believe? No, this is not what people believe. People go to the doctor so they can get pills, so they can get well. And yes, some of them say, yes, I'm well, the medication helped me and I don't have any more infection, I don't have more pain, I don't have more this, more that. Yet, God says that this practice should be what? Should be abandoned. Now, as I presented to you some little details in one of the days, as medical missionaries, workers, you must face this in the churches and in your life. And let me tell you honestly, when the Lord comes, you have to face an account, because now you know the truth. And the truth is, God's plan is not using medications. God's plan is using His remedies. And you study. Put in your LNGY book, software, whatever, app in your phone. Just type drugs or drug. Find all of the paragraphs that talk about it. Read it, study it yourself. You go and type also natural remedies, laws of health. Study them together and you will find that God over and over says there are many ways in the healing arts, but there is only one that I approve. And I told you the first worship, the test for our churches is about true medical missionary work. There are many people claiming healing others the same way in the past, and the Lord said in the last days the same thing will happen. Many people will claim to be healing, but is it really true healing? Can the devil heal? Well, he claims to. It may be masqueraded, it may be false, it may be in the way you want to call it. But the reality is that he claims he does. And there are many people that do, miraculous healings and all these things. And You know, according to the spirit prophecy, that God is not using miraculous healing today. It's clear. He says He is not using that as a main work. You may find someone that, yes, directed by the Lord, is healed miraculously, but it's not the way of healing God wants for us today. We should not depend always in miraculous healing. Why? The spirit prophecy is clear and says that the enemy has been using these devices so much that the God of heaven does not want us to have misunderstanding. He wants us to use the A laws of health, the natural remedies that He has, so we can help people to be better. What are you going to do when someone asks you about medications? What are you going to answer? I emphasize again, don't fight about this topic. You get your quotes, you get your studies together. If someone asks you, you present it. As in the same way I present you some of the quotes. Don't fight about the issue. Just be clear and honest. And in love, just tell them, it's not God's way. It's not God's way. If someone wants to fight, you don't have to be the second part. You can just close your mouth as Jesus did and keep going. You don't have to fight with someone that wants to fight. What is the reaction we should have when someone wants to fight? Answer nice. And sometimes close your mouth. That's it. Same example. Jesus gave us the example when He was before the kings. What happened? They forced Him to fight. Answer me. And what did Jesus do? Nothing wrong with closing your mouth when someone wants to fight. Right? Because that's not medical missionary work. We are not to fight with people. So over and over you can read and study in the spirit prophecy things that will be there. Now I'm going to give you an example of what people will call exceptions or things that we have to have clear. There was a lady that had a child, and in the spirit prophecy, this is an example, this is a testimony. The child got malaria and they didn't know what to do, and they did not want the child to get the quinine, which is the medication they used to use at that time, and it is actually still used in the world today. Quinine is one of the main medications for malaria. And they said, we don't want the medication for the child. They refused and the child died. Now, before I continue with that testimony, I'll give you my example in my personal life so you can have two testimonies at the same time. You see things together. So give you a more clear understanding and also wiser when you are going to talk about the issue. One day I was running in the lifestyle center because I want to do the visit for the patients. And then, that's in Uchee Pines in Alabama, in the US. And then the secretary at the front desk stopped me because she said, I have someone in the line who wants to talk to you. But I was running to see the patient, so I said, tell me what's going on. And she said, the lady is at the hospital. She's a Seventh-day Adventist. And the girl is 5 years old. She stepped on some type of metal that was roasted. So she's at the hospital and they want to put the tetanus vaccine. And she's asking if she should have it placed, yes or not. I stopped, I prayed, and then I answered. And I said, I cannot talk on the phone. If I talk, I will have to talk and I don't have time. But give this answer to the lady. I don't know the girl. I don't know if she sunbathes or not. You may have heard me in the presentation at CAP about sunbathing. How important sunbathing is for most of the diseases of our body. Even probably all of them. I don't know how much sugar that girl eats in her diet. I don't know how much exercise that girl do, and I don't even know if there are sins in that girl's heart or in the parents' home. If that child does not get the vaccine and she died because she has no power and no blessing from the Lord, who is going to be blamed? Well, first me, because I said don't put it, or put it. And second, God. Because that's the problem. People blame God in these things. Nobody says, what did I do wrong? Nobody says, I did wrong. No, they say, God. And as I told you, we have to direct the mind of the patients. It's not God the one who fails. He never fails. We should never ask the Lord, why me? No, that's not the question. That's a wrong question. That's blaming God. If that girl is my child, I said, I will not put the tetanus vaccine. But my daughter Kayla, even at 3 years old at that time, she do some bathing every day. She uses no sugar whatsoever. Never. We don't use sugar at home. Never buy sugar at home. We know that she sleeps on time. I pray with my children every day in the evening to ask for forgiveness of sins. And I have my own personal clear mind. If I am in that place, I will say, I don't need it. As a matter of fact, I will not even go to the hospital. Concerned about tetanus. If they step on something rusty, I just do what I know. Clean it, put honey in the wound, give them pomelo seeds maybe, oregano tea, bawan, do all the antimicrobials, antiviral, many things that we can use, do some fever treatment maybe, or contrast bath, contrast exchanges, whatever needs to be done, we do it, but no tetanus vaccine. You see how the problem is? Now I'm going to take you back to the issue at the spirit of prophecy with the child that had malaria, okay? When the lady talked to Ellen G. White, Ellen G. White said, the lady said, is it sin if I would have given my child the quinine? And the answer was, no. But we just read that says that drugs should be abandoned. So where is the controversy here? Is God contradicting himself? Never. So what's the point? Ellen G. White answered further and said, this is what you knew to do. Did she know to do papaya seeds for malaria? Did she know to do, who knows, mango leaves that is used for malaria also, fever treatment, or even bitter melon and palaya, those things that are useful for malaria? Did she know that? She didn't. Ellen G. White said, this is what you knew best, and if you didn't know, you are not accountable. You could have done it and saved that child's life. Now, if you know what to do, and you trust in men rather than God, knowing what you should do, then you're accountable. You see the picture now? You see how loving God is? Some people see this picture and say, it's unjust. No. Please, pray for wisdom. See it properly. This is mercy. Even though we may be doing something wrong, we deserve death. And God says, I will not charge you for that. As I said before, how many people in the past, before 1844, will be in heaven even though they did not follow the Sabbath 7-day Saturday as it should be. But God is merciful, and many people will be in heaven that they did not follow the Sabbath because they did not know. How many people in tribes, in islands, in secluded places may not have the light that you and I have, and they will be part of the kingdom. And I should have the love of Jesus to say, praise God. Even though he did not know, even though he had a heart for the Lord and the Lord saved him. What a blessing that that person is going to be beside me, even be my neighbor probably in heaven, that he may be saved. But don't play with this. If I know what to do, and I trust in men, this is trouble. He that knows what is good and does not do it is sin. You know how to do fever treatment. You know the 8 laws of health is what God wants us to do. You know the natural remedies, which ones to apply. You know you have to trust in God, and you are scared. You're in trouble. Now, there's a difference to be concerned and to be sad. If it's your child, like in my own case, one day, my little one was with the appendicitis, I told you. And I was concerned and I was sad when I saw him that he was leaving this earth, meaning he was dying. And I cried. And I asked the Lord for wisdom and a blessing, and he blessed us. But don't ever doubt of God's ways. Don't ever doubt in a fever treatment. Don't ever doubt in a fomentation. Don't ever doubt in God's ways. Don't ever think if I go to the hospital, if I get the medication, it will be better. No, that's not the way. Now, if it's needed for a surgery or something like that, then you have to do it. You see now how the picture opens a little more? As medical missionary workers, we should study these cases in the spirit of prophecy so we can have a clear understanding where the Lord wants us to stand, what is His desire, what He wants us to do. That we can have a clear understanding and we can explain to people. Don't forget, people will come to you fighting. People want to come to you requiring of you knowledge, and many of them do not want to do God's will. How are you going to face them? Even when they want to fight with you, even when they don't want to do God's will, and they are looking for excuses, you still have to love them and show them the truth. So we have to be careful with that. So I'll open now, if anybody has a comment in that line about this worship time, the use of drugs, even in the church maybe, you may talk about that, you may have questions, you may be wondering, what are we doing? You want to comment something? Please do so now. Is this what you have always believed? Is this what you always knew about God's desire in terms of what He thinks about drugs? Is this what you knew before? No, right? You always thought that being an Adventist and being a doctor and prescribing drugs to people was the good thing to do. Did you? That's probably right. This is what I thought myself. I never knew, I never thought that when I prescribed a drug, I was not pleasing God. Now, this is mind opening, this is mind war, this is probably contradicting to many things and many people and many institutions probably. And I'm not here to offend anybody, nor criticize anybody. I'm only here to tell you this is the truth. I know it, I follow it, and I don't have any problem with that. When I learned this, I said to myself, I will not pursue any more of my learning or training if I need to compromise. I was thinking on being a neurosurgeon, but for that I will have to go through a residency that will take me to that line. Most of the time it's probably 3 years or 5 years. After that, then you do neuroanatomy. Then after that, 1 year or so, you do some years of general surgery. And then after that, you do some more 3 years of neurosurgery so you can become a neurosurgeon. In total, after my 10 years of medical degree, approximately another 10 years to become a neurosurgeon. But if I think about what I'm going to do in those 10 years ahead, and I think about prescribing medications for the patients, said, I'm not going to spend my money in something that is not going to be pleasing to the Lord. Am I going to do it? I said, no way. No way. Is it God's will that we will have neurosurgeons? Yes. But it was never God's will that we will have neurosurgeons compromising God's and the world way of education. He's clear on that. We should never do that. I'm going to take you now to medical ministry so you can see that. Medical Ministry, page 61, paragraph 4. This is the book Medical Ministry. The section says our medical college. This is actually written as a compilation in 1932. It's approximately the time when last days of Ellen G. White. And her recommendation to the institutions that were teaching medical schools, medical training. And she said, I'm instructed to say that in our educational work, there is to be no compromise in order to meet the world's standard. God's commandment-keeping people are not to unite with the world to carry various lines of work according to worldly plans and worldly wisdom. Our people are now being tested. You remember that we read the first worship, 10 manuscript releases, page 314, where it says that the test for the churches is about the true medical missionary work. When is the test going on? Since Ellen G. White time, and even today, as to whether they will obtain their wisdom from the greatest teacher the world ever knew, or seek to the God of Abraham. Let us determine that we shall not be tied by so much as a threat to the educational policies of those who do not discern the voice of God, who will not hearken to His commandments. We are to take heed to the warning, enter ye in at the straight gate. Those who walk in the narrow way are following in the footprints of Jesus. The light from the heaven illuminates their path. It was sad to see many of our institutions go away from the plan. How do we know? I'll give you my personal experience with my queen. My queen is born Mexican, but her mother is from the U.S. Her mother, of course, had a mother who was a nurse at Loma Linda University. Of course, she's old, she died already. But she was a nurse at Loma Linda University, and she told her that in the past they used to treat the patients with the 8 laws of health. They will do treatments, and you can see pictures. This is in the literature. This is not hidden. They used to do treatments for patients. They used to do surgeries only during the weekend, not on the Sabbath day, unless it was an emergency. They used to have the wards closed on the Sabbath day. They used to do treatments God's way, and not drugs. Is that the case today? No. Why not? I am not here to blame anybody and not to do anything. I am only here to tell you it's not good. Don't do it. Don't follow the patterns of the ones that are doing wrong. Brothers and sisters, we don't know it all. You may know something, and you may see me doing something wrong, because I don't know it maybe, but you know it. Praise God, you know it. Sad that I don't know it. You can probably tell me, Brother Kilman, I know this, the Bible said so, the Spirit Prophet said so, you should change your way, this is something you have to consider. And of course, as every time in the mornings I read in my devotions the Bible, the Spirit of Prophecy, and I learn something new, I say, Lord, help me and give me strength, and let's change it. But don't follow the wrong things and wrong patterns. And that applies to the medications. Yes, that applies to the ways of treating the sick. That applies to the methods that we are going to follow as medical missionary workers. What are you going to do? What are you going to use with your, people that come to you looking for healing? Are you going to use man's way or God's way? Are you going to use true medical missionary work, or are you going to use the world's? I'll give you another example. How many of you know that fluoride application and fluoride toothpaste and fluorinated water, it's killing people? Now, many people know. If you know that, and you keep doing it, how will you call that? A sin. You tell someone, brush your teeth with Colgate. I don't do that. What I tell people, if you get one toothpaste that does not have fluoride or other ingredients that are harmful to you, fine, use it, but what I use is water. Only water. Of course, I floss and brush. It's very important. And I can tell you, my 8-year-old Kevin, you can see him there. My Kayla, all of them, 3 of them, Cadmiel, I taught them how to brush their teeth the way my queen taught me. I taught them how to floss the way my queen taught me. Of course, when I didn't know my queen, I was brushing and I was flossing. Thank God I knew that. You can see them there, 3 of them. He's 8 years old, Kevin. Kayla is 6 and Cadmiel is 3. The 3 of them, I brushed their teeth only with water, and I flossed their teeth, of course with a thread, every time after a meal. And I made sure they knew how to do it before I let them do it by themselves. And some oftentimes I would say, Kevin, did you brush your teeth? Kevin, did you floss your teeth? No, I didn't. Go and floss your teeth. And he goes and do it. And I have to be on top, says the Spirit of Prophecy. As they grow, don't let your hand be loose. No. You have to keep them in the right path. And I guide them. Did you do it already? Did you do it already? But only water and flossing. Salt, you can use salt. You can use even charcoal for some of the cleaning. Calamansi, yes. Just remember to rinse after, because you may have left some piece of the fiber of the calamansi. And if you leave fibers of the calamansi, that will be used by the bacteria to create problem. It will still cause cavity. So don't leave the pieces. Just rinse with water when you finish. You can do it, but rinse. Calamansi, salt, pure water, charcoal. Just remember that charcoal may stain the teeth of some people, so don't do it so often. But this is just an example. How many people are still using fluoride, Colgate toothpaste to brush their teeth, and they are harming their body? It's known by the government of the United States. They know it. It is killing people. It is intoxicating people, and they still use it. I'll give you another example. How many of you know the iodized salt is toxic? Many people still in the Philippines believe the health department saying that it is a good thing. In the US, it's known, it's fully known, it's acknowledged it is toxic. Why do we still lower it? Are we going to follow God's ways or man's ways? Are we here to follow God's commandment or the commandments of men? In every case, you have to ask the Lord what you're going to do, and you have to face yourself what you're going to do. If I am in that position, is it a sin if I sell it and do it without iodine? Because God says you have to care for your body. It is a sin if I do that, or is it better for me not to sell salt and stop and do something else? What is God's will? This is what I will ask myself if I am in that position. What is God's will now? Some of the minerals may lose their property when you apply them in the sun, but it will not be in the case of iodine as far as I know. You may investigate that a little more. I may not have it all, as I always tell people. I don't know everything. Yes. My recommendation is you have to find a salt that is not. You see, brothers and sisters, this world is getting to an end. We are getting to the point that we don't have ways to do God's will. You think about water, you think about salt, you think about food, you think about sleeping, you think about everything. Everything is not God's will. I'll give you another example. What did I tell you? I know I haven't shown you about sleep. What does God say about sleep? In the hotel that I am sleeping right now, I arrived on the first night, I did not have a good night. Because when I woke up, I realized I was tired and I was feeling kind of drowsy. And I started thinking and praying, and I said, well, Lord, what is it? And then I realized it's the window. How many times is that window open? Well, let me tell you what happened, and then you will realize yourself how long. I called the front desk and I said, would you mind coming and open the window for me? And they said, no, it's not possible. It's impossible to open that window. So how long that window has been closed? Prove me today that there is oxygen in that room. You cannot. What happened that night? I slept without oxygen. Can that happen? Yes. Yes. There are many people that have low oxygen in their brain and they are still functioning, but they are intoxicating their brain. I intoxicated my brain that night. And I said, can I talk to your supervisor? And she said, yes, sure. I talked to her and I said, would you mind sending someone to open the window for me? And she said, no, it's not possible. It's part of the security, so you have good security, which is the excuse in many things. It's for your wood. And then I said, well, I'm a doctor and I know it's not healthy to be sleeping in a room like this. I need the window open. Would you mind? And she said, okay, if you want it open, you have to sign a waiver document that you want that window open, otherwise you cannot. I said, no problem. I signed it. Please send somebody to open it. And they send the person, I sign the document, and they open and close every time I ask them for the window. So I try to spend some time in the room, so the room is aired during the day for some time, like in the morning I spend few hours there, so the window is open, and at night I sleep with the window open too. There are some other issues that I'm not going to talk about, but anyhow, this is just to give you an example. Are we going to follow man's way or God's way? Are you to stand for the Lord or for men? Are you going to be fearful when you face things like this? So we have to stand in front of the Lord one day and say what we know to do, we did not do. If I take a machine and I test the oxygen of that room and 100% sure there was not enough oxygen for me to sleep in that room, I cannot assure the amount, because we cannot measure with our feelings, with our bodies. You cannot measure the presence of the absence of oxygen. But, I know already the symptoms, so I could sense that I was not having enough oxygen in my night. The second night, I slept better. Alright, if there's no other comments or any other questions, we go for the hypertension. One question. What about what, sorry? AC system? Oh, shopping malls. Yes, those things we shouldn't stay one day in a shopping mall. Of course, when I go shopping, I carry my cell phone, or I carry my MP3, I carry my earplugs, or even the system. I always carry that in my computer bag or whatever. Whenever I go and I need it, I put my earplugs, and sometimes only the earphones, or sometimes the earplugs and the earphones. And of course, I don't spend much time in the malls. You have to guard your avenues, your eyes, your smell, your taste, your ears, and all together. Psalm 103 verse 1 says, I will set no wicked thing in front of my eyes. That applies to the ears, that applies to the mouth, that applies to the nose, that applies for everything. So we have to be careful. So when I go shopping, I never take my children. And if I do, they stay in the car. If I have to go down, I go down, my queen stays in the car with the children. If she goes down, I stay in the car with the children, or vice versa. They never go to the malls. That's law in my house.
This is all about the fluoride. How can brushing with Colgate or with fluoride harm us when we brush? We do swallow
the Colgate sometimes. You just spit it. Okay. Well, the application of fluoride in the teeth, according to the studies, causes cavity. The Colgate, whatever toothpaste you're talking about, the application of fluoride in your teeth causes cavity, according to the studies. What did you know, brother? What did you know? What was fluoride for? It was to take away the cavity. Supposedly, yet the studies are showing that causes cavity.
Why did the government allow?
You're gonna have a good time when you watch yourself, Russell Blaylock, giving you all the information about the fluoride application and why the government allow that. Well, that's not my task. I'll just show you the truth. My queen is a dentist. She used to do it. She does not recommend it anymore. She knows it's harmful. She said, don't use it. And she's a dentist. She knows the truth now. Bleaching the teeth? Well, all depend on the substance that they use. I have not done myself a research in the ingredients, but I am not concerned about that. I prefer my teeth to be healthy and don't worry about fashion. The recommendation is to brush your teeth after a meal, not needed when you wake up. As a matter of fact, it's against you when you brush your teeth when you wake up. Why? When you sleep during the night, some of the bacteria that is in your mouth, good bacteria, not the bad bacteria, the good bacteria in your mouth will produce vitamin B12. If you swallow your first time saliva in the morning, you are actually giving yourself a pill of vitamin B12. So don't spit out when you wake up. Unless you're sick and you have, flames and so on, that don't swallow that. But.
Your pillow will have some vitamin B12.
Where?
Your pillow.
Your pillow has. That's right. Yes, that's just one way we get vitamin B12. The bacteria produces the vitamin B12. You swallow the saliva that has the vitamin B12. The intrinsic factor in your stomach is produced in the lower area of the stomach. Then in the intestine is absorbed. Because intrinsic factor is needed for the absorption of vitamin B12. So yes, and it's recommended after a meal, brush your teeth and floss. Why? Study shows the person that do not floss have more heart disease. Why? Okay, have you heard of people that have bad mouth care and they have endocarditis and they have rheumatoid fever? Why? Well, I myself cannot explain to you completely these things, but one thing I know, there is a connection between your mouth and your heart. The bacteria that is in your mouth goes in the gums and it goes fast to your heart. Why? I cannot explain you that yet. One day probably. But this is one thing medicine has found. They discovered that the bacteria in your mouth goes faster to your heart than any other place. And people that have bad care in their mouth will have more heart disease. There are many ingredients now in the market, you have to be careful. There are so many chemicals in the market now that you must be careful. It's better if you go simple. Mouthwash. Well, we are going away from the hypertension, but let me give you some time for those questions. 1 second. When you have Listerines or all these mouthwash that have alcohol, they discover since many, many years ago, I myself went with my queen to a dental association training in Chicago, and they told us that it is already found that it's carcinogenic because they use alcohol base. Alcohol base. There are many, many mouthwash that are not Adventist recommended. Because there is alcohol in them, and you should find one that is no alcohol, and be sure, like the brother said, look for the ingredients, read the ingredients, because that's loaded with chemicals. Yes, you can use essential oils for brushing, especially the ones for peppermint. Yes, especially peppermint, because peppermint is good for digestive issues. And also the grapefruit seed, pomelo. If you don't have essential oil, just crush pomelo seeds and you will get that element in the pomelo seeds and you can brush your teeth with that. Somebody else at the back had a hand. Anybody else at that? Okay, sister.
I have read about salt and coconut oil. And I've been doing that for 1 year.
Okay. Well, that could be. I have never tried myself, never heard of that before. It make coconut oil and sea salt, right? Very good. If that is good for you, it's good for you. I cannot tell you anything, but it's the first time I see. I will study that myself. All right. Well, let's go for... no. I owe somebody an answer. My brother here yesterday asked a question about what to do in cases where a lady comes with an emergency and you as men have to do the delivery. That was a question yesterday, what to do. Well, I think you have at least some of the basic things today, thoughts that you can answer that question yourself. Especially today that we saw the issue with drugs. Brothers and sisters, when it comes to the point to judge, it's between you and God. If a patient comes and says, Dr. Butey, I'm going to do this and this and that, and even I say in my mind that's not good, he has to face the Lord and he will have to do it himself. What God is going to say to that person about that is not my business. Because I am not the one who is going to be doing the judging time. Even today, if I teach you today that drugs should not be used, and one day you told me I used this drug, I have no rights to judge what you did. Now I can tell you what I think, I can tell you what I teach, but whatever you did is you and God. And I have no rights to judge anybody. No rights. Everyone have to face the Lord for what you did. But thinking about what we have learned about God's stand using drugs, God's stand using other methodologies of care, if there is someone that saves someone else, not knowing what was right, or in emergency cases, only the Lord will deal with that in His wisdom. And yes, maybe will not be against you. The only thing I say is, the Spirit of Prophecy always emphasizes, we need female doctors to do the care of the female issues. Even says the Spirit of Prophecy, a male doctor should never be alone when doing a simple examination of a lady. It's a no-no to examine private parts. And even in a simple examination like, let me just go in the room with you and I'll ask you some questions. I always at UC Pines ask my LCs, don't leave me alone with a woman. Because God said so. So be careful. You read and you study, and be careful what you do. You have to face. At the end of time, everybody has to face what you did, what you knew to do, and what you did. All right. So let's go for the hypertension. You heard already the definition of health. I'm not going to go through the definition of hypertension or blood pressure, but I will give you some clues. Today is known that hypertension is not cured by medication. As a matter of fact, it is known that medications are not fixing blood pressure in the people. It is known that people that have blood pressure will do the same having medications or not having medication. So if it's not making the patients better, it's not improving the patients, it's actually the same whether you take it or not, what is the reason of using Look what it says there. People taking antihypertensive drugs have higher rates of heart disease than people who have identical blood pressure without the drugs. This is science. You can find it in Kaplan, hypertension in population. This is science, all right? Then we go for the next one. It says there, people with high blood pressure has 10 times more risk of white lesions on brain, Alzheimer changes. Drugs are not the answer of high blood pressure, but changing the lifestyle. Isn't that what God says in the Spirit prophecy? What do we have to do? I remind you again, the 8 laws of health that God wants you to follow. What are those 8 laws of health? Many people know it by New Start. I don't use that one. I like God's Plan. That's how my ministry is called, God's Plan Ministries. And the acronym on the G, the God's Plan, the G stands for Godly Trust. In the New Stars, the Godly Trust, trusting God, is the last one. I don't like it. To me, it's the first one. I prefer to use God's Plan than New Start. But you can use New Start because that's what people know the most. But anyhow, that's just a brief thing. So lifestyle is what going to really help the people with high blood pressure. If you see the numbers here, you see the normal blood pressure, it's basically in the systolic less than 120. Everybody knows here that the blood pressure has 2 numbers, right? The blood pressure has 2 numbers. You are clear on that. We don't have time to go over the basics of that. You can study yourself that later. But the 2 numbers, the first one is the highest normally, and the second one is the lowest. Or one at the top and one at the bottom, just like a fraction. The one at the top, we call it the systolic, and the one at the bottom, we call it diastolic. The diastolic pressure should be lower than 120. And the diastolic, the one at the bottom, should be lower than 80. We basically say between 90, 60 to 120, 80. That should be your blood pressure range. Between 80, 90, 60 to 120, 80. You see that? You understand that clear? Okay. Then anything in the systolic above 120 will be pre-hypertensive. Anything above 80 in the diastolic number, it will be pre-hypertensive. Anything above 140 in the top number, it will be stage 1 hypertension, according to the newest scales. And anything above 160 is type 2, we can say, or stage 2 hypertension in the systolic. And the diastolic, then you see the numbers 90 to 99 and 100 above. So you have to see really how the blood pressure of the people are, so you can determine how they are. Now, I can be honest with you, new studies, new things. Actually, they are not so new. Since 2011, Ohio Cleveland Clinic did a study and they found that blood pressure more than 115/75, you still damage the kidneys. Slowly but surely, it's still the kidneys damaged with a blood pressure 115/75. So what is ideal blood pressure really? If you take that study, anything below that, so we will say 90/60 to 115/75. This is new study. I compare that with diabetes. We used to say in the past that if your blood sugar was 200, then you were diabetic. Is that how it is today? No. You have 140 for some doctors and you already have diabetic, when before we used to say above 200. You see how numbers are changing? What is really ideal in the numbers of the people? You have to study for you to really see that. What I tell always in these kinds of problems is this: science will change always. The one that never changes is who? God. No matter how much you learn numbers, no matter how much intelligent you could be in science, if you don't know what God wants you to do, you will fail. Because today people are saying you drink 8 to 10 glasses of water. That's what people used to teach in the past, and now science is proving that you should be teaching people drink 16 glasses of water. You should follow what God said. Drink plenty of water. Well, how much is plenty? Just follow physiology. There's one thing that is very simple, and that is your urine should be as clear as possible most of the time. So if you wake up one day, if you walk one day to the CR and you see that your urine is not pale, what is that telling you? You have not been drinking enough water. So therefore, whenever you see that, you need to force your mind to say, I'm not doing right, I have to do better. You follow your physiology, you follow the way God made you, you follow His recommendation, you will never be wrong. Because science is going to change. What if they one day say it's 18 glasses of water? Please. Of course, we still use the new knowledge, new technology, new studies to prove people the things that God said they are really right. But use always God's ways to measure what you are doing. All right. Now we are going to see what are the reasons most common of hypertension. The reason for that is this: if you know the cause, you know what to do for the patients. You know what to do with people that have high blood pressure. So as you see what are the things that are causing blood pressure in people, then you're going to start realizing how much wrong we have been doing in our practices. Number one is what? Stress. Yes, stress. You need to learn to manage stress. Remember that stress in these days, we know it. When you don't manage stress, it causes many diseases. Inflames your arteries. Number one. If your arteries are inflamed, what happens with blood pressure? Shoots up. So therefore, if you have a job that is too stressful, is it God's plan? Brothers and sisters, we have to face the judgment day alone. Nobody could say, let me call Dr. Butte because he told me to do this or he told me to do that. You have to face yourself, and the Lord will ask you, you had a job, it was too much for you, you knew better, you knew that it was stressful, you knew that was the cause of some of your blood pressure, you did not leave it. I do not know you. So be careful. So what are the things that causes blood pressure? Stress. You need to teach people how to manage stress. Now you have to learn what stress is and how to manage it properly yourself, and that's a total different class. We're not covering that today, but one thing I can tell you, as Christians, we should not let stress take us, because we have all the tools to manage stress. As a tip for you, if you want to use something that will help your people to manage stress, read Romans 12. Read Romans 12. And not only read it, understand it and repeat it and practice it. One example, just a brief. It says there, nobody think of himself more than somebody else. That's very important in stress management. You should not be thinking you're better than somebody else. Thinking that way is not right. Therefore, one of the things that will help people to manage stress is that they should consider themselves in the proper measurement, and that comes from the value that God gives us. in the cross of Calvary. Right? All right. The more you direct the thought of the patients, the thought of the people to Jesus, the better it will be. This is the chapter that I use to teach management of stress. You read it, you practice it, you take every phrase, what really God means with what He's saying there, and it is a tool to manage stress. So use it. Stress increases heart rate. How is that? It's simple. Just study physiology. Study the adrenal glands, the glands that are on top of the kidney. When you have stress, it's simple. It's just like this. Let's say that the typhoon starts today and it's hitting here, right? You're alert now. Your heart rate is starting to come up. Put your hand in here. You see? That's stress. Can you feel that? Many of you may already start having the heart rate getting a little agitated. That's the point. Whenever you feel threatened, whenever you are in a danger, let me give you another example. Sister, come up here in front. Oh, you see, me. All right, just as an example. If something like that happened, I call the sister here, come, why? The adrenal gland has a connection with your brain. Your brain says, alert! Something is wrong. The adrenal glands then put out what? Epinephrine and adrenaline, cortisol, maybe, yes. But mainly epinephrine and noradrenaline, which are the stress hormones. They go up, and what do they do in the heart? If the heart rate increases, what happens with the blood pressure? If you stay in situations over and over that keep your heart rate up all the time, what's going to happen with your blood pressure? This is proven in cases, for example, somebody has a job and he gets to the job and the owner of the place put rock music all day long. I'm sure you will have high blood pressure. Because they have done studies after studies showing that even the plants die when listening to rock music. So yes, don't work in a place where they have music that you cannot control. Do whatever it takes for you to be away from that. God's plan, man's ways. You have to face it at the end. The next one is out of shape. Out of shape will put your heart rate up. Yes, when people have not been exercising, when they are not doing gardening, when they are not walking around, when they are not doing what they should be doing, the heart rate increases. Normal heart rate is between 60 to 80. When you are not exercising, when you are not putting your body into the way it should be, your heart rate started increasing. Your normal rate is always a little higher, 90, 95. You take the pulse, 95. Any moment of your time. That means your heart rate is increasing, you are not doing the exercise you need, your blood pressure is going to be high. So what are we going to do with people that are doing that? Sedentary lifestyle. We have to follow what God says. Walk. What is the best exercise according to God? Yes, walking is one of the best. Now, what is the best one? Gardening. I am going to prove it to you even from studies. What are the best exercises according to studies today? Read it for yourself. Walking and gardening. Look where is basketball. You see that? How many people used to think that basketball was a good exercise? Look what it is. Look the bars. Where is basketball in comparison to gardening? In comparison to walking? Which is the best exercise? You see how society has not been teaching you the right thing? Tennis. Okay, let's see. Where's tennis? Right there. Look at that. Right. You see, when you think about what's best, I'm telling you, nature drives us to wrong things. We think we know what's right. We think we are rich, have no need of anything, yet we are blind. But the Lord is merciful. He is revealing through science today that what He says before, it is true. Because one day, everyone has to go in our knees and say, God is just. Even Satan has to say it. But nobody will have an excuse. We have the knowledge. All right, let's go back to hypertension. So out of shape will increase your blood heart rate and it will increase your blood pressure. What about caffeine? Yes, caffeine increases heart rate. It actually depletes you from the minerals that you have. It puts you in a stress state. According to the spirit of prophecy, caffeine is like asking loans of energy from the next days ahead. It's borrow energy from tomorrow. That's how it says. You go into spirit of prophecy and read it by yourself. So basically, it's like whipping an old horse. How is that? You have a horse, he's very old, he's just laying there, he doesn't want to stand up, and he's just lazy, and you call him, you pull him, and he doesn't want, but you get a whip. Where did the energy come from? Borrow. That's what happens with caffeine. You don't take it, what happens? Decaffeinated coffee is never 100% decaffeinated. Never 100% decaffeinated. What you have to do, yes, what you have to do is two things. Number one, you have to study what is called end products of glycation. You can write that down and you can study yourself. End products of glycation. What that means is anything that is food that has a carbohydrate like rice, barley, all these things, or bread, and you put it to toast, to burn, and when it gets more than brown, it's carcinogenic. That's what is called end products of glycation. Anything that is more than brown. You see the aroma is more than brown. It's not light gold. No. It's not just roasting. No. It's more than brown. Even if it's soy, anything, because it has carbohydrate, as long as it's more than brown, end products of glycation is carcinogenic. No. What I mean is when you cook it, when you put it in the oven, when you can see that it's turning. Of course, flaxseed is going to be difficult for you to determine when it's already end products of glycation because it's already brown. But the idea is that if you roast it too much, even the peanuts, even any, all these things, if you roast them too much, the nuts, they are going to be carcinogenic because of the end products of glycation. And the second thing is the ingredients. Read ingredients. You may find things that are not right. And I will show you in a few minutes. Natural flavors is one of the most dangerous things in ingredients today. Give you an example. One day I was buying in the US a product that says vegan, right? From one of the companies, and my queen called the company and said, this product says vegan, but at the back of the ingredients says natural flavor. What is the natural flavor you have there? And she said, is it any animal byproduct in it? And the lady said, oh yes, that natural flavor is chicken broth. So how can you say that is vegan in the product in front when it has natural flavor that is chicken broth? I could have sued the company in the US for that reason. That's not my business. That's not what God puts you to do. He's not asking you to get money easily. But I just never use it again. I ask for forgiveness to the Lord and never use it again. Be careful of what you're using that says natural flavor.
We are using the plant-based nuts for. What about charcoal?
Oh, charcoal is different. Charcoal is not made from food. Charcoal is made from wood. Wood is different than food. When you study the composition of wood and food, it is, yes, a kind of a sugar. If you study the molecular base of it, it is cellulose, which is very compacted. It's a kind of sugar, we will say, but it's different from the glucose, dextrose, and sucrose, all these kind of sugars, carbohydrate types that we eat in food. So it's totally different how the end products of glycation will happen. It actually does not happen with wood, when you burn wood. No. Even bread that has been burned is carcinogenic. Study it. You will find it. Yes, even bread, if you toast it and it's burned, you should not eat the burnt part. Yeah, you study. You will find it. It's there. And yes, of course, the benzopyrenes, which is the molecule you're talking about, the benzopyrenes is when you cook animal fat-based products, and that will be carcinogenic, yes. Even studies today shows that fat, when it's fried, the smell of that fat is carcinogenic.
Filipinos are a fan of roasting eggplant before they cook it.
Don't eat the burnt part. Okay, let's keep going. Tobacco, yes, we know that tobacco damages. It's not difficult to explain people that. Now, one thing I can tell you, you have to be careful. People today don't know, many people don't know, but it's true. Science have already discovered the third-hand smoking. Have you heard of the second-hand smoking? We knew the first-hand smoking, the person that smoked dies. We knew that. Now we know that second-hand smoking, for example, in my case, I had a patient, she came and she said, I have lung cancer. I study, never smoke. And then I asked, what about your husband? She said, my husband died 3 years ago from lung cancer. He was a chain smoker. Okay, she got lung cancer, not because she smoked, because the husband smoked. That's second-hand smoking. You can kill your family by smoking. And it doesn't have to be outside the home. You carry it with you. Then, now today we know the third-hand smoking, when someone smokes, the clothing that he wears, the chair where he smokes, the car where he smokes, that furniture, fabric absorbs the nicotine-based molecules, and even 20 years later, that nicotine is still carcinogenic to anybody that is in contact with it by their skin. Even wood. For example, somebody is building a house and the carpenter is smoking, All that wood is impregnated with nicotine and it'll still be carcinogenic 20 years later. That is third-hand smoking according to medicines today. Who am I to say no to that? Science is discovering that when the Lord said it's not good, it's not good. Okay, next one, dehydration. What happened with dehydration is this. When you have dehydration, your arteries inflame. When you have dehydration, your blood becomes sluggish because it's sticky. You make more clots. That's why what I told you today, Loma Linda studied this because what they discovered is that dehydration has more detrimental effect in our bodies than smoking. Dehydration causes hypertension. That's the next cause. You see, brothers and sisters, 8 laws of health are here. If we follow the 8 laws of health, you have no reason to have hypertension. The 8 laws of health are for us to follow and show the world that we have the way to live. And if someone has a problem, we can still use it for helping them, but it's not only to cure diseases. It's for us to follow it every day of our lives. That's why you see, you carry your water. You make plans for everything. When I go out, I take my food, and if I don't take my food, most of the time I fast. Because I cannot eat out. Most of the time. Yes, maybe I find a market and I find saging, praise God. Sincamas, praise God. Jacon, praise God. Anyhow, most of the time you're traveling, you cannot cook, so you have to think and something you can eat just like that. Of course, you need to find something you can wash with and so on, but at least it's an option. All right, continue. Now, vasoconstriction. Anything that causes vasoconstriction in your body will cause high blood pressure. Stress, yes, that causes vasoconstriction. When you are in stress, your blood vessels shrink, especially in the internal organs. So that will cause high blood pressure. Especially if you do not exercise. Why? Look at this. Look at this. Pay attention. Don't go to sleep. Pay attention to this. You have a job. It's too stressful. It takes long time for the day. You don't have to exercise. You go to sleep. You wake up tired. All day long, your arteries internally were constricted. Your arteries in your arms were open. Because the sympathetic nervous system, when you are under stress, will open the vessels for the larger limbs, the larger organs, so you can run. This is what sympathetic nervous system do. It prepares you for flight, for flying, for running. You have a stressful situation. So in a situation where you work in a stressful job, you don't have exercise, your organs, your limbs have a lot of blood. Of course, if you don't have a contradiction having your arms uncovered and your legs uncovered. But in the general, this is what people are doing. They have stressful job, they stay there for a long time, they don't exercise, they are set for high blood pressure. You see, we go again. Is it God's way or man's way? Every one of us has to face it at the end time. You see people with high blood pressure and they ask, why? You must understand why so you can explain to people why this thing happened and you can teach them how to come out. And yes, sometimes big decisions have to come. Yes, big decisions. And I can tell you my own examples. I don't use anybody else's example. Most of the time myself. One day I thought about that and I said, I will not work anymore in this job. And I resigned. Period. Is it God or man? What's more important for me? That's what I said. That's what I thought. That's what I did. What are you going to do? What are you going to teach? You and God. Next one, vasoactive substances. Anything that causes vasoconstriction. For example, well, right there on the column at the left, you have them basically. The most common ones are what? Coffee and tobacco. Those are the most common ones. The ones that causes vasoconstriction. Now, remember, today you learn that dehydration is in the same category as tobacco in the constriction of the blood vessels. Now, let me give you a picture of these vasoconstrictions so you can see. When you have vasoconstriction, the vessels come smaller. We learned yesterday as we were doing the treatments that when you have vasoconstriction, what happened with the amount of blood? Less blood. If you stay with less blood in most of your organs for the whole day, what are we going to have? More healing or less healing? We are going to have more disease. Simple. You see how simple it is? The more vasoconstriction, the less blood, the less health you will have. The next one, vasoconstriction, is what we taught yesterday. Cold. Now, I'm going to pause in here because I need to give you the facts. You can write down HR or Health Reformer. That's the magazine for the Spirit of Prophecy. Health Reformer, September 1, 1868. September 1, 1868. It says there, having noticed some of the wrongs of the popular style of woman's dress, we now wish to show in reference to the reformed dress that it is convenient. No arguments are needed to prove that our style of dress is most convenient in the kitchen. In passing up and down stairs, the hands are not needed to hold up the skirts of our dresses. Being of a convenient length, they take care of themselves while our hands are better employed. We can go out into the untrodden snow or after a fall of rain, and if our feet and limbs are entirely protected. What is she talking about? What did she say? If our feet and limbs. This is only one of my compilations of dress reform. You study it. You have to face these in the churches. This is a big problem in the church. And it is purely medical, you will say, if you want to think it that way. There is much science behind this than what you can imagine. You studied. I'm not going to fight with anybody. You have to face before the Lord, but we have to teach people the right thing. When I learned this, I put it in practice. I put it in practice in my home with my children. Thank God my queen was convicted of it, and we started doing the changes. We saw the blessing. I see the blessing in the people that follow it. You have to face it. But you study, because you as medical missionary have to bring an account. What are you teaching people to do? If you ask me, you must cover your limbs. Yes. Using long sleeves? Yes. Even long sleeves. Even here in the Philippines? Yes. Even here in the Philippines. What kind of clothing? Cotton. Of course. Thin, not heavy, duty cotton or wool. I have a wool jacket that I use whenever I travel, like Manila here, in those buses that I have to put earplugs and put them inside very tight and put my jacket so I can protect my temperature, so I can keep my blood pressure in the good range. Just to show you and encourage you to study about dress. The one reason people have high blood pressure is because the limbs are not covered properly. Now I'm going to explain to you why scientifically so you can have an idea. Okay, let's say that this is the route to come to the church here, right? Now, tell me if you can come to this church by this street or another street, yes or no? Yes, you have two ways at least to come this way, right? This way or this way. If you are down there in another place, you can take a route this way or this way. If there is something here and it's a block here, can you come around and come to this way? You can come around and still come to the church. You just have to walk a little longer, but you can come around, right? Okay. This is what happens. When you have the big vessels of your arteries coming to your members, going to your legs and to your arms, there are collateral circulations around, right? The majority of the blood, when it's coming to the legs, if your legs are uncovered, will be going to the collateral circulation. Because the vessel, the major vessel, from here down, depending on how short it is, it will be constricted. Then what happens is, the blood does not go through that artery, it goes in the collateral circulation and come back to the heart. And what happened with the blood that is in that limb? Stays there longer. What happened with blood stasis? Anybody knows? Varicose. Disease. Inflammation increases. When that blood have the opportunity to come back to the heart, is poison. This is what the spirit of prophecy calls congestion of the blood. I just explained you how it happens. There is more inflammation from the blood that is in your uncovered limbs. Goes to your heart again, and it will give you more disease. It's not new blood, it's old, diseased blood. More toxins, more inflammation. It makes sense. It is science. You can read it, you can study it, study your physiology. What God said is true. But I cannot take you away from your thoughts. You have to face it yourself. The next one is dehydration. Of course, dehydration causes vasoconstriction. We said that already. What about hardening of the arteries? Anything that hardens the artery is going to cause high blood pressure. What causes hardening of the arteries? Plaques. How is plaque formed? Cholesterol. And what else? Stress. Calcium. Salt. Too much salt. Too much supplements of calcium. Too much cholesterol. Oxidized cholesterol. You heard already the oxidized cholesterol. Those are the main ones causing plaques in the arteries. Fried food. Anything that has been dehydrated. Ice creams. Those are the ones causing hardening of the arteries. The combination of oil and salt increases inflammation, brings calcium to the arteries, and causes hardening of the arteries. You can study all these things. It's open. In the files, there is a file that you will find. It says Dr. Esselstyn files. You will watch those videos and you will learn. Now, I can recommend you. Listen to them again and again so you can understand them well. You can understand what is he talking about. But he does it really well, so it's going to be not difficult for you to understand it. It's medically, but medical language, but you will understand it. Just listen to it several times. Because sometimes people don't want to see these things because they don't understand what they're talking about. But you will be able to do it. One of my brothers was reminding me, there at the back. It's good that you remind that. You remember that too. For you, when you are receiving a lecture, it's very important for you to breathe properly. That helps you because we tend to breathe very shallow. My brother was recommending me to tell you that you should breathe consciously. Breathe deep, not with your shoulders. With your abdomen. I have a whole lecture about proper breathing because 90% of the people breathe through the mouth and with the shoulders, not with the abdomen, which is different. Now, I have many years of practice in this, so I have more conscious in me when I talk and do it properly. I may forget once in a while, but I am more conscious myself because I've been training myself to do it properly. Of course, I'm human. Once in a while, maybe I don't do it properly, or even singing, but I try to do it properly. Yeah, sure. For the proper breathing, you have to remember that you have to have your shoulders up and back. If you have your shoulders down and forward, so you tend to breathe shallow, very tiny, and normally with the shoulders, not with the abdomen. So you have to have your shoulders up and back. That's the best position. It's actually the position recommended when you are going to have a walk after eating. Okay? And when you're sitting, you have to force yourself. This is our nature. This is our nature. This is reality, brothers and sisters. This is reality. There's nothing hidden. And I myself am in the same part. We have to force, all of us, in this thing. And what you do is you breathe through your nose. Anytime you talk, anytime you're doing something, and you talk. That's what 90% of the people do. And then you breathe through your abdomen, not with the chest. So, you sing, same thing.
Additional.
Yes.
Feel your belly first, because when it's filled, your shoulder will go up later.
Yes, definitely. You may feel the shoulders going a little up after you have done the proper breathing. But you can test it. You can do the testing yourself. You try to breathe like this and feel your abdomen. You will see that you cannot do it. Try. Force your abdomen. It's difficult. But do like that, proper posture, and then you can feel. And of course, if your lungs are shallow, very small, they don't expand much, it will take you a little while to bring those lungs back to the proper size and expansion system. How do you know if your lungs are not expanding well? I'll give you a test. You do this. You are in front of the firewood. You remember those firewoods all the time? And then you are going to blow it. Proper breathing. Can you do that? Try and see. If you cannot, your lungs are weak. The longer, the better. If you cannot keep your blowing for a long time, you don't have good lungs. They don't expand properly. So therefore, you have to breathe properly. Force yourself to breathe deep, even when you are having a lecture like this, so you don't get sleepy. Okay, we keep going. Now we're talking about the hardening. Anything that makes your arteries to become hard, it will be bad. I am not going to talk about the oils right now. I'll tell you about that later. But it's one of the culprits of the hardening of the arteries. The oils. I'll explain to you later. So don't go away so you can learn. Inflammation. Anything that causes inflammation will cause the hardening of the artery. What causes inflammation of the arteries? Number one, salt. Isn't salt needed in the body? Yes, it's needed. But when it is too much, it causes inflammation. Years before, we used to think that when you use salt too much, it will cause water to come in, and then you have too much retention of water, then you have high blood pressure because there's too much water in the system. And that is true, but it's not the whole thing. What happens is, you have more inflammation of the arteries, therefore you can have even high blood pressure. Therefore, the combination of oils and salt is a bad thing for your arteries. You will have high blood pressure, hardening of the arteries, and so on. Anything else that causes inflammation? Yes, stress. We know that stress causes inflammation. What happens when you have a sedentary job? You have a mind job and you eat a lot. And you eat too many combinations of food. Or you overeat, of course. Or you eat too many nuts. Too much energy for a machine that is not doing that kind of work. What does God recommend about these things? Someone that is doing mental work should have a fruit-based diet more than a very complement, different combinations, very strong diet. Why? Science has discovered that 30 minutes after a meal, if you don't exercise and you don't move around, if you eat too much and very heavy meal, your body will increase the oxidation of your body. Oxidative stress will go up. Hardening of the arteries will happen. Rule-law mechanism will happen in the blood. Many things will happen in your body that are not good for us. Worse if you sleep after a meal. Especially for your brain. It becomes clouded, poison, and is damage of your brain. Therefore, be careful. That causes inflammation. According to Dr. John Clark, one of my colleagues and friends in the US, is an orthopedic surgeon who does natural remedies and preventive medicine seminars and talks and see patients in the US, all over, traveling around the country. He is an orthopedic surgeon, so he had one case one time of a young man in the teens age. He came with a plantar fasciitis. You know what plantar fasciitis is? It's an inflammation of the tendons that are in the bottom of your foot. And the mother came with the young man and he said, what is the problem? He explained and she told him about it, and then Dr. John Clark was, asking questions, doing the diagnosis and so on, and finally he came to the point where he says, I don't find what is wrong with you, but let me go back again to the basics. I'm going to tell you what are the most common inflammatory foods in the world, and you tell me if you're using them or not, because apparently nothing was causing it, but he went back to the basics. He says, first thing, vinegar. Any kind of vinegar. Do you eat that? She said, yes, he eats half a cup every day of vinegar. We'll talk about brag in a few minutes. Even apple cider vinegar. Anything that is from a fermentation process, God said don't use it. Vinegar, apple cider vinegar is from fermentation process. What about agave nectar, which is a problem in the Seventh-day Adventists in the US right now? It's toxic for your liver, is from a fermentation process. I know it myself firsthand by traveling in Mexico and finding the people that make it there. And it's a fermented process. I know it from even John Clark's research that it is toxic for the liver. It is from fermentation process. It is not good for you. We'll talk about soy sauce in a few minutes. We cannot leave this topic without that. I can tell you and assure you that. So the culprit for that young man was what? The vinegar. He said, you go 1 week, no vinegar, you come back. Came back, no problems anymore. One of the most inflammatory foods in this world is anything that comes from fermentation. You've seen people with arthritis? You've seen people with all these aches and pains? Many years using inflammatory food. Inflammatory food. Inflammatory food, be careful. You study about that. What are the foods that causes inflammation? You will find, of course, allergies. Yes, some people have allergy to something. If they react to the food, of course, it's going to inflame you. If you react to the food and you eat it, you're going to have more inflammation. The more inflammation you have, the more your body will react to your joints. The more arthritis you will develop in your old age. So you want to make sure you drink enough water. You want to make sure you don't have inflammatory foods in your diet. Hot pepper, cayenne pepper, Well, God said don't do it. There is a reason. Anything else that causes inflammation, you study. I'm not going to go through the whole thing. You have to study yourself. I'm just giving you tips. Look for what are the inflammatory food, what causes inflammation. Look, there is a web page that you can actually go and see the level of inflammation of every food. You type vinegar and it will give you the inflammatory, and they have it by number. How? -10 plus 20, meaning if it's plus, it's an anti-inflammatory. If it's minus, it's an inflammatory food. So if you find a food that is -100, is that a good thing? No. So you go and type and you find it. Naturaldata.com. That give you, nutritiondata.com. That will give you the idea. You can type most of the things that you can think: bread, apple, vinegar, honey, garlic, you name it. You type it and it will give you the number, the nutritional content, how many carbohydrates, how many protein, how much magnesium, how much calcium, how much this and that. Even the satiety index. What does that mean? How much people feel full by eating it. How much it will fill you up, make you feel full. The more nutrients we'll have, the more you will feel satisfied. Therefore, when you go and type honey, and you see there, satiety index 0. For you to feel satisfied from eating honey, you will have to eat many cups of it. Because it will never make your brain to feel satisfied. That's the danger of these things. Be careful how much you eat of honey. Then you can type, for example, garlic. Garlic is plus 4,063. The most effective element in this world against cancer is garlic. Bawan. And I will give you that in the video about the most used vegetables for cancer and the most effective vegetables for cancer from the nutrition database studies. I will give you those clips in the DVD so you can watch it yourself. You can read and study. Anything else that causes inflammation, you just research. Look for it and you can help people. Most of the time, what you can do in the medical missionary work, what will work the best is this. Don't bring the person to you. Go to them. Isn't that what God said? Yes. We should have visitations 2 by 2. Send the medical missionary. Go and say in the house of someone, what is the need? You need this, we'll do this, we'll teach you this, you do that. Go through the things they have in the kitchen. And you will find the culprit. Anyhow, inactivity, yes, inactivity causes the hardening of the arteries. Endothelial dysfunction, anything that causes endothelial dysfunction, we'll talk about that in a few minutes, will cause the hardening of the arteries. Dehydration also causes hardening of the arteries. So you see over and over, the 8 laws of health are involved in this. Hypertension should not be in our church today. We haven't finished. Volume. Anything that increases the volume of the blood in your body will be detrimental except water. The more you drink water, the less high blood pressure you have. I can assure you that, and it's proven by studies. I have it in my other presentation about 8 laws of health. Kidney failure, yes, when you have kidney failure, the volume of your blood increases, your body cannot filter the blood properly, and you have high blood pressure. Muscle inactivity, that causes more volume, there is therefore more high blood pressure. Chill extremities, the more uncovered members you have, the more volume that stays in the members increases the volume of your blood, and the more you have high blood pressure. Compression, edema, plaque formation, glycation, the end products of glycation, tobacco, inflammation, all that causes compression, including fat. Clothing, of course, viscosity, anything that causes viscosity of your blood. The blood is sluggish, does not flow like a river. It flows like the drainage of the SOSH system. That is caused by dehydration, that is caused by stress, that is caused by refined food. What is a refined food? Give me an example of refined food in the carbohydrates. White rice. Give me an example of refined food in the proteins. In the proteins, huh? Yeah, white rice is protein too, but it's not a product that has been purposely refined in the protein level. Something that is protein refined. Soy sauce. Anyone? Any more else? Something else? You were asking for it. Bragaminos is a refined, concentrated protein product. It will cause what? Viscosity of your blood. It will cause clots. You give this to someone that has clotting problem, you get them ready for the next clot and the next embolism. Give me an example of refined products in the fats. Any oil. That's it. Okay, now you're ready for the next. Viscosity is also increased when you have too much cholesterol and too much fat in your diet. According to the Spirit of Prophecy, it should be 1/6 of your plate, the amount of fat that you eat in your diet. Fat. I'm not saying oils, I'm saying fat. What is God's approved. We'll talk about that later, probably, by God's grace. But it should be 1/6. You find it in the Spirit of Prophecy. Look for it. The amount of fat in your plate should be no more than 1/6. It says there that the custom of many people by traveling and eating nuts is not a good behavior. It says that when they go traveling, they keep picking and picking and picking. They finish a whole bag of this, and it's not a good behavior. Nuts are not made for us to be eating whenever we want. Only 1/6 of your plate at the time of the meal. Then, raisins? Dry seeds. Sorry. Yes, the squash seeds, for example, some of those, they are less concentrated in fats than the nuts, but you still have to be careful not to eat too much. That's another problem. Salt. Coconut, yes, that's another one. It's basically a nut. So how much can you eat? Be careful. Be careful. 1/6 of your plate. You know, you have to be careful, because sometimes people say, oh yes, this is the amount of nut I can eat for the day. This is what they recommend me. All right. Now, pay attention. They eat this in the plate, but they don't count the almond milk they ate in the cereal. They didn't count the loaves that they made with almonds or the cashew nuts, and they don't count all the nuts that they put in the recipes. What about that? Did you measure that? No, but they're still eating this amount. You see? Be careful measuring how much your children should eat. Okay? Overeating, yes, overeating causes viscosity. I explained you why already. Waste products, yes, more waste products. No exercising, no sweating. No sweating. People don't like to sweat. That's wrong. The 3 system of your bodies to get rid of waste is, number 1, sweat. Number 2, liver. Number 3, kidney. So you have those three major wasting systems in your body, and the truck comes today and take the garbage, good for you. Tomorrow the sweating is not done, so what happened with the waste material? Your liver and your kidney has to work more, harder. Therefore, if you don't sweat, it's wrong. If you don't like sweating, you are wrong. I like sweating, I like sweating. Praise God, because I can sweat. Today in the US, we have children that cannot sweat. What's the problem? They are toxic. Their mind is clouded. No attention. They cannot concentrate. They have hyperactivity disorder. And we wonder why? We put them in AC system. They take them in cars, even in the school. No exercise. They don't even allow them to have outdoor exercises anymore much. Preferable to have a Nintendo in the classroom or a computer to entertain them in the break time. Rulox mechanism. The Rulox mechanism is what happened is it could be done by refined food or lack of hydration. The Rulox mechanism is you've seen your coins. Let's say you have 1 peso. You put it up on top, another peso, another peso, another peso. You may have a stack, right? That is how your red blood cells will look like when you have Rulox in your blood. Rulox puts your red blood cells one on top of the other one all together, and they are a clump. Can those group of red blood cells pass through the capillaries? They cannot. So clots form more, and this happens because of refined products, lack of the hydration. Okay, you're ready? Very fast. Oral contraceptive, rise blood pressure. So I don't want to step in that one. Yeah. Contraceptive, damage also. That's a no too. It's drugs. What are we going to do? You have to learn about the rhythm system. The other system for contraception, if you want to use it. Now we are going to reveal to you the truth about oils. If you listen to the clips from the training that we are going to give you, you will have there Dr. Esselstyn files, and you will find that in Dr. Esselstyn's experience doing the study for reversing heart disease, Dr. Esselstyn is the director of the Cleveland Clinic in Ohio, and he's the only one that has been able to prove to the world against medicine belief that you can revert heart disease by Spirit Prophecy Plan. Why do I say that? Just pay attention. You will see. What we have not done, what we have refused to do with our behavior is done by a heathen. You will see that. Now let me take you through the things that he faced. He one day discovered that oils are worse, and this is studies. Studies today prove that vegetable oil is worse than eating meat in terms of producing heart disease. Then the question is, why did we started using oils? Well, when he discovered that oils are the culprit of lung cancer, when he discovered that the oils are the cause of children's brain low development, when he discovered all these things, he started wondering, and he says, where is the data, the information, the scientific result that says that olive oil, these oils are a good thing? According to the American Heart Association, the best oil in the world is olive oil and should be used for any patient that has heart disease. But there is no data for that. Dr. Esselstyn one day personally sent a letter to the American Heart Association and said, please send me the information, the data, the scientific research. You can prove me that, as you said, olive oil is good for patients with heart disease. And the answer from the American Heart Association is, or was, Dr. Sestin, it's good that you are interested in the health of your patients, but sorry, no data. Yet, you have studies after studies that prove that oils in the society today are the main cause of heart disease, hypertension, and diabetes. There's actually one study in the vitamin D studies that show you that the main causes of diabetes today is central obesity and lack of vitamin D. If you know that, then how can we say that the oils are safe? You're ready now? This is the scientific research. Dr. Vogel from the University of Maryland did a study that is called the brachial tourniquet test. The brachial tourniquet test is just like a tourniquet when you have a snake bite, and they did it in the brachial artery, which is the one that comes in here, where you take the pulse for the blood pressure, right? And they measure the amount of dilation the artery has in normal time and after having a certain diet. Because they wanted to know if the diet will affect the dilation of the artery. Now, wake up at this time because I'm going to explain a little bit of science in this. So pay attention. When you have a tourniquet, what's going to happen with the blood going to the arm? It's going to decrease, it's going to be stopped. Is the hand made by God to do something to prevent the death of that hand? Yes, what is the reaction of the body to prevent the death of that hand? It does vasoconstriction. The blood pressure should increase because the dilation is, the size of the dimension of the artery is decreased. Meaning, looking for increasing the pressure so blood can go. This is the mechanism God put in our bodies. Now, let's think that you open now the gates and this whole blood is rushing to the hand. What is going to happen now? If the pipe is small and you have big pressure coming, what will happen? It will burst. What is the mechanism that God placed in our bodies to counteract that? In the lining of the artery inside, there is a lining called endothelial, which we mentioned before. And the endothelial lining, which is the first lining of cells that are surrounding the interior of the tube in the inside, these cells produce what we call nitrogen oxide. The nitrogen oxide is the main vasodilator that we have in our bodies. And as soon as the artery senses that the blood is coming with a rush, your arteries should be able to expand soon, very rapidly, to avoid the bursting from that high blood pressure. If there is something that prevents your endothelial lining from producing the nitric oxide, what will happen with the blood pressure? Is high. And if the artery is totally constricted, what will happen with that artery? It will burst. So today you have just learned the main reason of high blood pressure and strokes in Philippines. Which one it is? Oils. You ready? Okay. We're going to read now. 10 healthy volunteers with normal cholesterol ingested 50 grams of fat in the form of, first group was eating bread that was made with olive oil. And the second group ate bread with canola oil. And the third group ate salmon, which is fish. Why did they do the study with fish and the oils? Because they wanted to compare which one is more damaging. You ready? Measuring the arterial blood flow before and after each meal, Vogel could tell whether or not a meal was causing damage to the endothelial lining of the arteries. based on how the blood was flowing through the artery after the meal was eaten. The expected result, what we want, is that as soon as you open that tourniquet, your vessels should be able to dilate soon and big time. So you don't have bursting and you don't have problems of pressure. But you will discover how much it could not dilate by using these products. Okay? Okay, the first one was salmon, and it could not dilate totally, was minus 2%. So instead of 100%, 98%. It lost the ability to dilate 2%. Is fish damaging to your arteries? Yes. How much? 2%, we can say, mathematically speaking. Then the next one was canola oil in the bread. After 30 minutes of the breakfast, they did the tourniquet, they opened it, they measured with ultrasound machine, and the artery was not able to dilate by how much? 10%. 10% less reduction. That's canola oil. So which one is worse? Fish or oil? Oils are worse in the causing of heart disease today. We know it by scientific research, and this is not the only one. There are other scientific research that have proven this over and over again. And the last one is olive oil. Olive oil in the bread, the reduction of the dilation of the arteries was 31%. Which oil is worse? Brothers and sisters, yes, in the time of the Bible we use olive oil. Yes, it was used in the Bible. Yes, many things were used in the past, including fish. Yes, Jesus ate fish. How many of you believe that? Raise your hand. What did the Lord say about eating fish today? You have to give it up. Let me tell you one thing. I'm not going to force you to take olive oil from your table. I'm not going to do that. I am not here to change you. I'm only here to open your eyes. I'll tell you now my testimony before I continue. When I learned that oils are one of the causes of low brain development in children, I said, it's enough. I don't want it. I am becoming oil-free. I don't want oils in my diet anymore. And then, 6 months later, I did not lose my hair anymore. Yes, I was losing my hair. I was concerned, Lord, what am I doing? Remember I told you, you can be doing right, you may be thinking doing right, but God cannot do what? Take away consequences. He cannot do that. He cannot tell the universe that He is going to reward the sinner. He cannot reward you when you are doing something wrong, even if it's ignorance. He can forgive you. He may not charge you for that, but He cannot take away the consequences. He could not take the consequence of losing my hair in my life. And I did it, and I saw it. It's my testimony. My queen, she's a dentist, and she had sometimes, it's normal. You bite yourself. How long does it last for healing? A few days for you, 1 week for somebody else. Who knows? For my queen, normally it was 2 weeks for that biting in her mouth to take place. We left the oil, 3 days, healing. What is the difference? I'm here not to change you, I can tell you that. I'm only here to tell you the truth. It's in scientific research. You study it. I'm a testimony. You have to face yourself in front of the Lord, not me. Don't ever say, Dr. Boutet taught me to be oil-free, I'm going to do what he did. No. You go and study, because you have to teach people. You are going to do medical missionary work. What are you going to teach people? I have a patient that has coagulation problems, and one day he comes to me with an ulcer, and they are, so sorry. But he had a wound on his leg, and then I worked with him and I told him, for your clotting problem, you must not eat oils anymore. You must be oil-free for you to prevent oil. Of course, you have to drink water, 16 glasses a day. That's a law for me and my patients with clotting. And I told him, you have to do this. And he followed when he was at UG Pine. He left UG Pine. His wound was healing. I used honey for his wound to put outside, not inside. Outside. Honey for the wound. Dry, completely dry, no wet. No oils. Drinking enough water. Some herbs. Things that he can use to help the blood. Make sure that he's thinking. A lot of greens. Very good. A lot of greens. No warfarin. A lot of greens. Then he went home and he called me one day. They want me to go to surgery. They may cut my leg. I said, brother, what are you doing? Are you been eating oils? He said, no, I am not. I pray and I said, brother, are you sure? He said, no. Then I asked him, are you eating any olive oil? So I go straight. I know where the weakness is. I know where the problem is. And I said, are you eating any olive oil? And he said, well, in the dressing, some of the salad, because it's virgin olive oil. I said, brother, I'll be honest, I can treat you, I can help you, but this is it. This is the cause. This is scientifically proven. I cannot tell you anything different. You want to be off clots, you must be oil-free too. He never called again. I don't know what happened to him. Of course, I hope nothing wrong, but because he never called, it's sad to think about it. So we have to be careful with that. Now it says there the result, when the arteries constrict the endothelium, the vessel's lining is injured, triggering plaque buildup or atherosclerosis. Okay, now I'm going to give you some of the other studies that show you that olive oil is not good and any of the other ones. Refined oils increases hypertension and the risk of stroke at an early age. Is that clear? Toxicology book 182. Is that clear? Is the Lord revealing the truth now? It says in Daniel 12, what happened with technology? It will increase. With the knowledge will increase. Well, this is it. God is proving to us that what He wanted us to eat. Read the Spirit of Prophecy and look in any of the quotes that says what is the diet for us, and look and see if in anyone says olive oil or any oil. Never. There is only one code that is recommended as medication. Even the sister showed it to me this afternoon. There is one code that says olive oil, and I can show it to you. It's in Concepts on Diets and Food. But it says like this: the olive oil as in the olive. What does that mean? You need to eat the olives. It's not saying the olive oil needs to be eaten. It's saying the olives should be eaten. It has olive oil and it is good for you, but not when it's outside. Refined product is not linked to where God intended it to be. Remember this: anytime an oil is extracted, he is divorced of his companions. Enzymes, nutrients, everything. According to the studies, any oil refined, of course, because any oil separated is a refined product, is oxidative as soon as it's out. According to the studies, the oils, when they reach your home, are already oxidized. All of them. We continue. Olive, of course, olive oil, soybean, palm oil, intake have a similar acute detrimental effect over the endothelial function in healthy young subjects. I told my mother, please don't eat olive oil. There is a struggle in my family, in my mother's house, and they did continue using it. Later, somebody called me and said, your mother had a mini stroke. And I called her again and lovingly explained again, and I told her, Mommy, please don't do it. Months later, was in Dinalongan, I was told again she had another one. Brothers and sisters, I'm looking at my patients dying. I know why. I cannot lie to anybody. The more neighborhoods, fast food restaurants, the higher the stroke rate. I'm going to explain now another thing so we can understand. Well, let me take the two questions before.
I just want to say something. Because canola oil is GMO.
Oh yes. Well, if we go to study canola oil in itself, we can find that it's GMO. It's actually come from a rape seed, which is a Canadian company who tried to, yes, there's a story about that. Yes, you can read it, you can find it. It is basically engine oil just transformed into the table, kind of. That's the story. That's how it came out. Well, let me tell you, even when we talk about cancer patients and we talk about raw food, we haven't been able to reach there yet because this is so much. We have a lot to learn. But anyhow, raw food or dishes, the secret is this. And even in the Spirit Prophecy, you find it. I'll just give you tips. Every man, health reformer, should know to cook, according to the Spirit Prophecy. Then we have another quote that says, food should be palatable. Alright, the secret here is, food is not a punishment. Food should be something you enjoy, so you must learn how to do it. And this is the problem in the 8 laws of health. Why does people don't follow the 8 laws of health? Because it requires work. Natural remedies. Why people don't do it? Because it requires work. And the enemy has been busy, making us busy, so we go for fast food, we go for fast internet, we go for fast. There's no such fast salvation, brothers and sisters. The character building is a lifetime thing. The cooking is an art. You must master it. Now, this is a secret that I tell all the time the patients. You must rely on the tasty things God had given you for you to use in your cooking. We talk about the 1/6 of the fats in the plate. Use that 6 of the fats to make the taste of your plate. You can use other things, I'll tell you more, but normally the most common things that will be useful for that will be avocados, cashew nuts, seeds, sunflower seeds, even sesame seeds, coconut, peanuts, you name it. Maybe you don't find almonds in here, maybe you don't find all these things, but you have peanut, you have coconut, you have avocado, cashews, you have all these things. Of course, cashew is a little more expensive, you don't have to use it all the time, but you can use these things. Now, let me tell you one thing honestly. I don't spend my money in things expensive and other things. I spend my money in food. If I have to pay, I can tell you honestly, in the US, when we were in the US, I pay organic food the last month in the US because US is not healthy. But I spend my bills, my check in food because I wanted my children and my wife to have the health they need. So pay attention. Your food is your investment. That is your insurance. Don't invest in insurance. Invest in your food. And then you have, for example, one day you cook, let's say, peanuts. You cook it, and then you put these peanuts together. You blend it with some oregano leaves, maybe 5 leaves. Not too much because oregano is a little strong when you put too much. And then you put a little salt, and you put that dressing on top of your salad. Remember, 1/6. How much are you going to put for your children? You serve the plate for your child, and he start eating only the peanut dressing, and you see, Mommy, done. Give me more. More. You have your salad there. Yes, he ate the peanut dressing. He didn't eat the salad. That's not the way. Children should eat what Mommy and Father said. According to the Spirit of Prophecy, I can give you the quote. We have another study for that. You never allow your child to select what he eats, according to the Spirit of Prophecy. You never allow your child to select what he should eat. Do you know that? This is according to the Spirit of Prophecy. This is true medical missionary work. 9 out of 10 cases of the indisposition of children, this is quote from the Spirit of Prophecy. I'm just reading from the Spirit of Prophecy in my mind. 9 cases out of 10 indisposition of children is related to habit of eating, drinking, and dressing. You're telling me that the prophecy of the Bible that at the end of time children will be lovers of themselves, disobedient to the parents, has to be with what they eat, how they dress? Yes. God said so. I have no right to say something different. This is true medical missionary work. If I am the one training, I cannot tell you lies. And yes, this medical missionary training may have been a little different from what you may have seen from other, or you have expected, but I cannot train you differently. This is the truth. So you use the nuts, you use the seeds, you use all these things to help you. If you don't have those things all the time, there are other things you can use. For example, you have onions, you have garlic, you have calamansi, you have salt. You can use all these things. Somebody mentioned ginger. I don't use ginger. According to some of the studies, ginger is actually inflammatory. I am not going to fight with anybody. This is what I do. I don't force you to do what I do. You study yourself and you take the decision. I don't personally use it. If somebody, cook with it, I just take it away. Or I prefer not to eat that. But I avoid it. I don't use it. But you can study yourself and you can probably show me later if you have something different, but I don't use it. I don't force you even yourself to not use it. Right? But you can use garlic, you can have calamansi, you can have bawan. You can have a combination of these or even combination with other things. Another example of dressings, if you don't have many nuts, for example, you can have a little bit of cashew, for example, and you can have rice. And then you have, let's say, onions and calamansi, a little salt, and you make this dressing, which will be a little bigger in size, in amount, and you can pour that in your salad, for example, which will be convenient. The rice will give you bulk for the dressing, and the taste must come from the cashew. But no, cooked rice. Rice should never be eaten less than 2 hours cooked. Alright? Pay attention. Uncooked grains make lacunes in your brain, causes Alzheimer's disease. Don't do rice that is not properly cooked. 2 hours for the rice, please. Even a low heat, that's the best. Peppers? Chili, yes. The Spirit of Prophecy says never use it. That's a short answer. Yes, cayenne. I never use cayenne as a food. I've used cayenne for cardiac patients when they have heart attack, when they have angina. Yes, I have a 45-year-old man coming from, he was born in Panama but raised in the U.S. in Houston, and he came to me because he had 5 heart attacks, 3 anxiety attacks. He was under 18 medication, diagnosed with hypertension, diabetes, of course angina, or blockage of the artery. He had a stent put on, and many other things. But anyhow, the point is that he was having angina, he was having pain, and I will give him a container with dry cayenne powder, you know, this cayenne, red cayenne. And then when he had any episodes of angina in the first days during our treatment, I told him, put it a little bit on your finger and put it under the tongue, just one time. If 5 minutes happen and you have another one, you can use it, but don't use it too close. Try to avoid if you can. And then he used it probably like 3 times in the few days that he started the treatment. After a few days, never again. Never again. He left. After a year, I'll call him, and he was off all the medication. He had no more blood pressure, no more diabetes, no more heart disease. His stent was clean. He didn't have any more heart disease. He did a video, and he was teaching the churches in the U.S. how to be free from these problems. But the one thing I told him, never use oils again, especially olive oil. I'm honest, brother. Honest.
I'd like to clarify that because I have read that coconut milk, is very nutritious, it's not there. It teaches the right way of using it. I'm going to put coconut milk and apply to remove or
There is nothing wrong with coconut milk as long as you don't cook it too much where the oil comes out. If you cook it too much, you are going to be eating oil. You know that's the way of making oil. Yes or no? Sure. That's how you're going to make oil. So don't cook it too much. Nothing wrong with eating gata. The only thing, cook or raw, the only thing is this. Most of the common allergic reactions are because of nuts, including coconut, peanuts. Well, peanuts is a bean, but it's one of the most common allergic agents because of the amount of protein it has. Remember, the allergic reactions come in our bodies because of the reaction of the body to the proteins. So anything that has a protein basically has the risk of creating an allergic reaction. Some people don't call these allergic reactions, some people call them intolerance to food. The way you call it is harming you. You want to name it however you want, it's harming you. I'll give you an example, personal example. I cannot eat raw nyog. I have to cook it really well. If it's halfway coconut, this buco that is getting into a coconut, I cannot eat that. I have to cook it. If it's a young one, I can eat it. It's very soft. If it's getting harder already, no, I cannot. It will harm me. I have a reaction to it. Spirit of prophecy says, if there is a food that does not agree with you, don't eat it. That's the spirit of prophecy. Listen to the system. Learn to look at you, yourself, and learn your body. My wife, my queen, used to call me crazy because I would tell her, I don't think my body's feeling well. I sense this and that, and I don't think it's reacting well to this or that. And she said, you are crazy. How can you feel your body? Now today, she says, now I understand it. Now I know how to feel my body. Say yes, we have to learn. You have another question? Seems like in your face. Oh, yes. Well, the problem is here. The chili pepper is very good vasodilator. That's why I use it for heart disease. Remember? Well, heart attack. No, heart disease. Heart attack. When someone is going to have a heart attack, what is the problem? Most likely he has a blockage. and it's going to close the flowing of the blood to that part of the heart. That section of the heart is going to die because there's no blood. The cayenne pepper will do vasodilation of that blockage area. It's not cleaning the blockages. It's just forcing the artery to open up a little more, so some blood is going to go through. So that area is not going to die. That is not the cure of blockages of the artery. That is just an emergency situation. And of course, people keep eating it, vasodilating the vessels. Yes, is that true? No, that's not true. That's a lie. You are telling your body you don't have anything, you are healing, and it's not true. If I give you a medication that it tells your brain there is no pain on your knee, you don't feel any pain anymore, you keep walking on it, and you are still damaging your knee because your brain only is numb, is that a true? That's a lie. You are thinking you are doing well, you have no pain because your brain is numb, yet you're still damaging your knee. When the medication does not work anymore, then I tell you the next step is surgery, because you cannot stand the drug medication, even the worst opioid that we can give you, and the next thing is surgery. Did I deal with you truthfully? Brothers and sisters, sorry, but that's the truth. In medicine, that's what we do with patients. Orthopedic doctors give medications for the knees when they have arthritis, so they don't have any pain, but the damage keep going. Once the damaged is not able to stand anymore, you cannot resist any more pain, the next step is surgery. That is not curing anybody, that is just making money from a lie. Brothers and sisters, this is the truth. God said it in Spirit Prophecy, drugs never cure. The cayenne pepper? Well, that's exactly what she was asking. Atherosclerosis is basically the hardening also of the arteries, which is going to lead to heart disease. So that's exactly what she was asking. Atherosclerosis is linked to heart disease because it's basically the beginning of the problem. Atherosclerosis, you can have it actually in your brain. Atherosclerosis, you can have it in your femoral arteries. Atherosclerosis, you can have it in any of the media-sized arteries of your body, basically. But, if you study more a little about that. But the idea is that you can have it in many parts of the body. As a matter of fact, nowadays the doctors are recognizing that the first sign in men of atherosclerosis is what? You know? Impotence. And I'm not going to explain because we have an audience that cannot hear those things. Alright? But the idea is, they say nowadays, the doctors now, the urologists and all these big doctors that are doing these studies, they say nowadays we know when someone has atherosclerosis in their brain, we know when they have it in the femoral artery, we know when they have it in the heart because they are impotent. When they show the sign, it's down there first. Well, no, it's not. And that's my honest question, my honest answer, because it's not. God says never use it in the Spirit of Prophecy. Now the point is that it's a vasodilator. That's why people think that it's good for heart disease. But it's not going to fix the problem. It's an inflammatory agent according to the Spirit of Prophecy. If God says don't use it, who am I to say different? You see the point? Simple. Aneurysm. Well, aneurysm basically is a pathology of the body that most of the time is linked to malformations. Most of the time, not all the time. Somebody was born with a weak vessel and it burst because of pressure and things like that. Aneurysm could be done by anything that damaged the artery, and nowadays we know that there are some other agents that are causing aneurysm more than just malformation. Anything that will damage the arteries, you have to avoid it, no matter what. Can it be cured, the aneurysm? Just like anything, brother. Who am I to say that you cannot heal? God is the one who heals it. If someone has an aneurysm, I never. Someone has cancer, I will never. Someone has arthritis, I will never will say it cannot be. I will always say God can do it. That's the short answer. Now the long answer is yes. You can go in this Spirit Prophet bookmarks that I have. There's one quote that says there are some patients, some people that have gone so low that it cannot be reversed. But that is not something I can judge. But it is in the Spirit Prophecy. You can read it. Of course, we hope by God's grace that when He comes, we can have a new body. The problem is, we are accounted for what we do now here in this probationary time. That's the point.
Aneurysm is also the weakening of the endothelium.
Yes.
Is anything in food that is good for strengthening of the endothelium?
Yes. Basically, what you will want to use is the diet that God gave us. There are some leaves that will help, like bay leaves. You said bay leaves? Oh, you know. Beans. Beans like the mungo. Well, yes. Well, in our body and science, we don't really know exactly how everything works. Yeah, we know these little details, these little plants and these flavonoids and all those things. They will work repairing and so on. But we don't really know all the details. Why do I say that? To give you an example. The Spirit Prophecy has a quote that says, you can find it, it's in my bookmarks. There's a Spirit Prophecy quote that says that the combination of fruits, give me an example, apples, papaya, right? With grains, give me an example, rice, even camote, those things are considered in the cereal issue because it's carbohydrate based, but mainly corn, what else? Oats, what else? Anyhow, all these grains, the combination of fruits and grain is better than nuts. Do you have to have nuts? Not necessarily. It's good to have it. It's good to have it. Don't take me wrong. But the Spirit Prophecy is clear. You don't have to depend even in nuts. God has supplied what you need. As I always say, and this is one thing that I open now because we haven't had opportunity to talk about cancer today, but if there is one thing that helps cancer patients the most, is the raw diet. Raw diet. That's the best. Now I'm going to show you this one so you can see why. When I talk about enzymes in our bodies, I go through these so you can see it. But I'm going to show you just a little bit of this so you can have it. There was a study done trying to find out how much you absorb in your intestines when you eat food. And they found this. Percentage of cooked food to raw food consumed and percentage of nutrition assimilation. How much your food bill is affected. You buy 100 pesos in food, how much of that 100 pesos goes into your system? Okay, let's see it. If you eat 5% of raw food and you eat 95% of cooked food, which is most of the people, right? Most of the people eat mostly cooked, few pieces of raw. Right? And some people, everything cooked. Right? As in Guyana. Guyana, you don't find raw things. Very rare. What is the assimilation percentage in this population? Most of the people, right? From your 100 pesos, you are only getting 0.03 pesos. Not even 1 peso. Can you see that? Now, when you eat 10% of raw, 90% of cooked food, your assimilation will be approximately 0.06. You can eat 25 raw and 75% cooked and you will absorb 0.1. You can eat 50% and 50% and your absorption will be 0.3. You can eat 75 raw and 25% cooked and your absorption will be 1 peso now. At least 1 peso from the 100 peso, right? And then if you eat 99 raw, mostly everything, a big salad thing with a dressing of cooked coconut, 1% cooked, and you eat only salad, your absorption, the greatest, will be 1% of cooked, 3 pesos. From that 100 pesos, you only get 3 pesos. We are eating only 3 pesos of the food we eat every day. But when the study was done with 100% raw, nothing cooked, 0 cooked, you can absorb 30%. 30 pesos, sorry. Thank you. Now let me be clear before we close today because we don't have more time. I am not telling you everybody has to eat raw. God never said it. It's not in the spirit of prophecy. It's not in the Bible. I am not teaching that. I am clear. But if there is one patient that comes to me, desperate, I don't know what to do, I have cancer, I tell them, what, sister? 100% raw is the most healing diet. You want to beat it? You can do it. But you must learn these tricks and how to cook. How to do the art of the cooking. Well, you're not going to cook anything, but you are preparing your food, and you must learn how to do it. You must eat. Now, if it's raw, you don't use cooked peanuts. You use raw peanuts, the green ones, just harvested. You can eat that raw. You can blend it, mix it with salt, calamansis, cebollas, whatever, or buy one, and you can use that as dressing for the salad. Remember, the fruits don't need additives. They really are good. Of course, you can use raisins, you can use nuts with your fruit meals. I never recommend combining fruits with vegetables in the same meal. It's according to the spirit of prophecy, not a good behavior. Vegetables in the morning is my best choice. Fruits in the lunch is my best choice. And fruits in the evening. And I give you this tip. Evening should not be more than grains and fruits. Anything else should not be in the plate. Grains and fruits. Last question because we have to go.
Is it true that we cannot absorb vitamins?
Vitamins. There are some vitamins, yes, A, D, E, K, that we need to have some fats in it to absorb. Now, the question here is this. Is there fat in peanuts? Yes. Is there fat in eggplants? Yes. Sure, there is. Is there protein in apples? Yes. Tonight you will see that. So don't miss that. We're going to talk about osteoporosis there. All right? Don't miss that. Let's kneel as we ask the Lord to guide us as we finish this afternoon. Heavenly Father, I thank you for the privilege that you gave me to be here. I thank you for the privilege that you have given me to know all these things. And even though I don't have the whole knowledge, I don't have everything, you have given me a privilege, Lord. And I recognize that, and I thank you all the time, Lord. I feel the most privileged man in the world. And I feel you have given me also a responsibility, and I don't regret it, I don't refuse it, I follow it. I only know that I should train my children first, and I focus on that. But you have given me the opportunity to come to Riverview and teach people what you have taught me. I want to ask you, Lord, in a special way that you will bless this group, that you will give them the wisdom and the discernment to do what is right and to learn from the right sources, and not to take the sources that are talking about things that are against your word in the Bible or the Spirit of prophecy, but using the sources that are talking about what you have said in the Spirit of prophecy and in the Bible, that it will be a help for us to follow what you have said, not to follow what man says with your writings. Please, Lord, give them strength and wisdom, and for me and my family also, as I teach my children how to become medical missionary workers. Thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.